PFL World Tournament, Week 4 final episode here, light heavyweight and the heavyweights. I'm joined by my man, Joey DFS. Joey, we got hot last time we were in PFL. Can we do it again here? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good, my brother. You telling me we get 2 fight night cards, same in the week? Hey, I'm all for it. What's up, Tone? I see you down there, my boy. TC in the motherfucking building. Hola to the big show himself. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this fight card. I think there's going to be a lot of good ways you can get to the betting cards for your parlays, straight bets. All I want to see is dollar, y'all. Come on now.
Hopefully we can repeat the success. Cashed 2-leg last time with Xavier and Brett Primus. Cash underdog tonight. Tailed you and Jeff with the Dalton Roaster. And then main event, I had to go the separate ways. Fabian Edwards did vengeance his brother Leon Edwards for the loss. But let's talk about this card. Let's get into the first fight of the night here at the light heavyweight division. We have Alex Easy Palizzi, as they call him in the streets, and Rafael Xavier here. Joey, I'll let you kick this one off. How are you feeling about this light heavyweight alternative bout here?
I don't know what the over-under is, but if you're telling me it's under 2.5, I would honestly look at playing it possibly. If Palizzi does get it to the ground because he is the superior wrestler, I don't think Xavier is going to get up. I think Palizzi is live to ground and pound him, get a finish inside the distance. But if Xavier does keep it on the feet, he is the superior striker, and Palizzi gets hit. So I do like the under 2.5 if that's what the line is, the under. I'm slightly going Palizzi because I think he is going to get to the wrestling quickly, win some time overall ground control, and probably gets inside the distance inside the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, Extreme Couture's Easy Palizzi was finally able to snap that 3-fight losing streak in his last fight as a plus 250 underdog versus shoot pace. I definitely thought that was a good performance, showing he could still put on a wrestling pace on fighters. Kind of something that he's going to need to do in this one against Rafael Xavier, who's a pretty good striker. I think he does have a puncher's chance with Palizzi, with him being knocked out 2 out of his 4 of his losses. But I just question his wrestling chops that's going to be needed. 2-7 when fights go to distance. I'm kind of leaning towards a Palizzi by decision. I believe these 2 boys used to train with each other. If you look at Rafael Xavier's Instagram, kind of similar to this. I believe he fought Simeon Powell in his last fight. To be partners on that championship card, and we ended up kind of like fading the fight. I kind of want to fade this one too, but I kind of lean towards Palizzi by decision. Now my favorite price tag went from -192 up to 225 at the peak, and then back down to 180. Seeing some action here on the dog, and deservedly so. But I'm going with Alex Palizzi here.
Good pick.
Second fight of the night here, we have the heavyweight division. Rodrigo Nascimento versus Abraham Badley. We get Nascimento coming over from the UFC. Jake Hadley looked pretty good in his PFL debut. See if Rodrigo Nascimento can follow it up here. First fight under a new banner. Are you picking him or are you picking the Englishman?
So one thing about Nascimento I find crazy. It was just under 2 years ago he was headlining a fight night in the UFC. Now he's here. Well, damn, that's some weird coincidence. But look, Nascimento does have the size. If he can get to the grappling of his own, I think he's live to control Badley. I know he's a good wrestler himself, but I think Badley is the way super faster striker in this matchup, and he does have good overall combinations in his own good wrestling. If he can keep it upright, I do think there's a chance he could finish Nascimento like round 2, round 3. Nascimento is very hittable and he's slow as hell.
Yeah, I'm kind of have to go the other way, man. I kind of like Nascimento here. He's had some career inconsistencies when he's hammering fights. He looks really good, like the Dontel Mays and Tanner Boser ones, and he's able to get his grappling going against the heavyweight division. It kind of goes a long way. But he kind of wilts under the pressure to strikes like the Dawkins fight, Derek Lewis, Romanov fights. And I like what I've seen from Badley, of course, but there's some questions about his size at this weight class. I think this is a big step up in competition. I'm kind of leaning towards Nascimento getting the better of the clinch exchanges, kind of using his experience when they did the weigh-ins for this fight. He came in 265. Badly says 255. I think it was even a bigger difference than that. I think Nascimento is just a little bit too big for Badly here. Like, I think Badly is a little bit more twitchier of the fighter, but I mean, as you can see, 5-1 record versus 11-3, former UFC vet. I hate to be a cliche answer, but I think the value here is at -112 for Nascimento.
I don't hate it, but I have a feeling this is probably going to be more of a stay away from me. So I don't know. We'll see. If Nascimento does use the experience factor, he should ragdoll this kid Monday through Sunday. But who the hell knows? But plenty of good fights to get to.
Yeah, plenty of good fights to get to, like this one, light heavyweight bout. Sullivan, Cauley, making his return back inside the octagon against Marcelo Nunez. I'll kick this one off. Nunez moving down from heavyweight in this fight to light heavy kind of seems like his more optimal weight class. He'll be taking on a Cauley, Ryan Bader's main training partner, coming off a 2-year layoff. It's been a while since we've seen him inside the cage, but he's a really good fighter in the clinch and can wrestle. Didn't look too good off his back versus Lucas Traynor. In this particular matchup, though, I think he's going to need to keep the fight standing. I think he has a striking advantage on the feet. On the ground, I think he could find himself trouble with Nunez throwing some stuff off of his back. But I think he's able to pass the test here. I feel like the price tag was pretty good. -166, open up -144. I think I'm going to be betting this one straight here with Sullivan Cauley. Joey, thoughts and opinion?
You pretty much took my whole breakdown, so I'm just going to make it short. I'm also on Sullivan Cauley here. As Billy said, one of Ryan Bader's main training partners, and I was actually curious how Nunez was going to look for this cut. He made it with no problem. Look, he wasn't the overall fastest heavyweight. Is he really going to be that fast at light heavyweight now, cutting down more? We'll see. But I do think there's going to be opportunities for Cauley to get takedowns. And if he is smart, I would preferably keep it on the feet. I'm more looking at, I do agree Cauley's going to win. Could he finish the fight? Maybe 50-50, but I think that's more Cauley. I like Cauley by decision if the bet line comes up for that fight.
You're gonna go Cauley by decision here. I mean, yeah. I don't blame you. I my only worry about the Cauley by decision is I think he can get a knockout here in this fight. And if Nunez wins, it's probably with like him putting on that signature seatbelt that he does on the ground and probably getting a rear naked choke. Like I kind of like the under this one. Like I think somebody's gonna get finished.
Hey, as long as Cauley wins, bro, we're good, right?
Yeah, I hope it's a Cauley knockout. I think somebody's going to get finished. I kind of lean towards the under 1.5 here. This is a fight that I would bet the over on here. Heavyweights, we got Carl Williams coming over from the UFC, coming in here at +215 against a heavyweight tournament runner-up, Oleg Popov. Joey, I'll let you take this one away. Popov almost got the job done against Denis Goltsov in his last one. Kind of burned our pockets, but he fattened him throughout the regular season because we kept on betting him and he kept on winning. Are you going back to the well here?
Easy. YES. That's the big time yes right there. You're the one that got me on the Popov train when I started really getting into PFL. He's like, bro, don't look at the line. Play it. You'll thank me. More money in your pocket. I bet him every fight outside. He lost the last fight, but hey, he was doing all right in that fight. And now Carl Williams, takes his fight on 2 days' notice? Hey, he didn't have a bad run in the UFC, but I remember when TC had the flag of Denise, apparently somebody told Carl Williams, yo, bro, we know you can wrestle, but you got to learn how to fucking strike, my boy. And he got released right after the Denise fight. But, yeah, this is going to be two wrestling versus wrestling. Who gets to wear first? And I think Popov's just going to out-control the shit out of him. Just wins the decision.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, Williams' last UFC fight was definitely one of the weirdest fights that happened last year with them kind of telling him not to wrestle. And then he pursued his first takedowns in the third round after he was already down 0-2 on the scorecards. His wrestling looked good over the lower heavyweights in the division in the UFC. Like his 3 wins were over like Justin Tafa, Chase Sherman, and Lucas Brzezinski. So like that's not the best level of competition, but Popov wasn't able to win the championship in his last bout, kind of falling short to a fluke triangle, but his Sambo background is going to be hard to deal with. Prior to that loss, he was on a 17-fight win streak. I definitely think he can bounce back in the win column.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he's going to be one of my favorite parlay pieces.
Someone says hybrid catastrophic impact power says Carl was 5-1 in the UFC. Yeah, but some of those wins are very lackluster. But anybody can get those wins. If Oleg Popov was in those fights, he'd probably be like minus 1,000 in those fights. But next fight here, heavyweight division, we're sticking in it. Alexandr Romanov making his PFL debut against your favorite American truck driver, Tim Johnson. Who are you picking here for this one? Are you going with the favorite? And do you think that we see the King Kong Romanov finish move here?
Look, Romanov's going to do some Beasta King Kong type shit to Tim Johnson. Hate to say, Tim Johnson, if you're going to win, you better hope you land within the first 4 or 5 shots or you're going to be taken down, and then you're probably just going to lose this fight. Yeah, I think Romanov's going to come back to beast mode and probably win inside a distance.
Yeah, one of the bigger signings of the PFL heavyweight tournament was Romanov coming over from the UFC, where he wasn't able to crack the top 10 division, kind of criticized for never changing his training situation. When Romanov was able to get top position on fighters, though, and rain down punches, that's the fighter we kind of fell in love with a little bit as betters. But his cardio and his striking has developed a lot since the beginning of his career. But that's going to be pretty big in this matchup. It's Tim Johnson's there for a good time, not a long time, and he kind of seems like he never says no to any fight matchup, so he keeps on getting called back to the PFL. But 8 out of his 11 losses are inside the distance, so definitely some questionable durability. Quickly finishing his last 2 fights. Big price tag on Romanov, but I think he gets this one done inside the distance as well.
Just eat the chalk. Just don't look at the line. Just he's gonna win. Just adds on to your bank.
Yeah, he's gonna have to add on to some parlays here because we move on to the main card. Make sure you guys, if you guys haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. And make sure you check out Locker Room Podcast, USC, Des Moines, Iowa. We got our boy, Just My 2 Cents, in the chat. He's been hot with the dogs, and he's coming back with another one there. And Big Show Picks was not on the episode, so it was me hosting, kind of similar to how we're doing right now. Heavyweight division, Carl Albrektsson versus Simeon Powell to kick off the main card here. Who are you picking?
So if everyone that tuned in on Tuesday or watched the video, you saw my planet flag was Bolaños. But I told y'all I had a surprise for this fight card. I'm also planning a second flag this week. First one's UFC. Now this one, my planet flag is that man Simon Powell. Look, I know he had one bad loss. He got caught early, but look, you know who this man trains with? He trains that man Tom Aspinall down in England. And this is where I told Billy before the show started, I got something that he's going to laugh about. Do you know who that man Carl lost to recently?
I know. I did see that.
That man Chuck Campbell knocked him out cold. So, you telling me you getting knocked out by Chuck Campbell? No disrespect, because Chuck Campbell kicked my ass. Simon Powell's going to run through this boy. Simon Powell's going to do inside the distance. Don't be shocked if Carl even gets finished in round 1. I'm actually going to sprinkle that. I got to wait for the line to come out tomorrow. Stay tuned on Twitter, because that's probably going to be on the play card. So, I might look at Powell round 1. Yeah,
I'm not as convicted as you, but I'm kind of barking up the same tree. This should definitely be a banger with a potential coming out party. Kind of similar. This kind of feels like similar matchmaking to that Jeans matchup earlier this season, where you have Powell's the Challenger Series alumni. They're kind of slowly building up his career, but he came up short in the Europe finale. It was kind of a good learning experience for him, though. We're kind of getting some recency bias lines here compared to his other fights. He was been a huge favorite in fights. This is kind of a really good price tag. Albrektsson is the more experienced, more credential fighter, but he's clearly looked a step slower in his last couple of bouts outside Bellator. Losing the regional scene belt versus fucking Chuck Campbell is never a good look. The other fight was versus an 11-8 fighter that definitely shouldn't have been in there with him. And then his last 2 Bellator performances were very lackluster. I feel like Simon Powell's 10-inch reach advantage is everything in this fight. 3 inches of height, 10 inches of reach, metrical advantages all on his side. I feel like that's going to give Powell a little bit in the striking edges and to kind of be enough to get over the proven bet here. I like Simon Powell a lot this weekend.
And just so you know, so this is the first flag that's out tomorrow. Dennis Bolaños. So if they both hit, I got them in a parlay plus 153 if you combine both money lines. They both hit, your boy's back on the 5 on it. So that's what we're going for.
Going for 5 on it.
5 on it.
Well, let's see if we can get 5 on it here because light heavyweights are coming up. Antonio Carlos Jr. against Carl Moore, a.k.a. Shoeface, is back inside the cage. I was pretty shocked by this line here. Plus 106 here for Antonio Carlos Jr. Up to plus 116, plus 125 in some places like DraftKings. Carl Moore getting some love here from the betting public. Minus 134, minus 140 in some places. Joey, how are you feeling about this one?
So I know once I found out this fight was on the card, me and you talked about Carlos Jr. We're like, look, we know Carlos. I thought I was going to go Carlos, but the last couple of days, I think Moore is going to win this fight. Like my pick swapped on this one to where Carl Moore didn't look bad versus Corey Anderson. And I think if you look at stylistic matchup, as long as he stops a takedown, he can win this fight with no problem. Because I think he is the better overall striker. And who knows, maybe he could take down Carlos himself and have his own top control. So I'm on Carl Moore. I'm still 50-50 if I'll put a bet on it. Because, Carlos really doesn't get finished. So it could be Carl Moore by decision, but I don't know, bet, but yeah, I got Carl Moore.
Yeah, it's going to be our first dissension of the night here. I haven't been the biggest fan of Carl Moore. I'll give him credit to his performances inside the cage between Bellator and Cage where he's going 8-2 with pretty good wrestling, always looking to finish fights. But there's some questions about Shoeface kind of after being on the Brazilian Big Brother, gaining more popularity. But performances inside the cage, the last one against Palizzi was just an off night for him, or is that like more to come? Because he's definitely one of the highest level BJJ artists coming back for the 2025 season. I feel like it's a good sign that his heart is still in the game. And this could be a potential buy low spot here at plus money versus the Irish vet. I'm going to side with Shoeface here at plus money. I might come back to haunt me, but I like the plus money on Shoeface a lot here. It'd probably be better to bet like the under 2.5 or Shoeface by submission. A lot of his win conditions by submission. But I think he's going to be a little bit too much for Carl Moore here. Maybe I'm a little bit off on the read because the market kind of seems convinced on Carl Moore, but I'm going to stick with my boy Shoeface.
I will say this, even though I'm so torn on betting this fight, if I was to bet Carlos, it would be by sub. I just think that's the better line. That's the high probability of winning the fight because if he does get good positioning on Moore, yeah, Ireland grappling doesn't have shit on Brazil, so take it from there. And yeah, if Carlos gets on top, it's gonna be a finish.
Yeah, but hopefully, I feel like the last couple of fights here, the future bout there, and then the co-main here are all really good lines. Vladimir Moldavsky versus Sergey Bilostenniy, jacking up those names, but Russian on Russian violence. I feel like these are two fighters on different ends of their career. Like Moldavsky is kind of like the more conventional name between the two, but his performances versus Vassell were just definitely leave some question marks in this matchup. Sergey's kind of looked like a rising prospect for a while now. First two PFL fights versus former UFC vet Imanov. He looked really good there, cashed on that spot. And he showed good cardio in that fight. And then the Tyrell Fortune one, he went back to his finishing ways. I'm tempted to take Sergey here at the slight dog odds. I feel like he has just less wear and tear at this weight class. It kind of seems like the higher upside, despite the overall experience advantage being on the favorite side. Are you agreeing with me? Are you going dog or pass, or are you going with the favorite here in Vladdy?
So you're picking Sergey, right?
Sergey, yeah.
I will say this. I almost made him my second flag. I was this close from, I'm like, bro, I think Sergey can knock this man the fuck out. And none against, Vezin Vassell. But when Vassell caught him, dude, he didn't. He either smacked him or hit him so hard. I don't know if it was spit or snot that popped out of him. I don't know what it was. But he knocked some shit out of him. And the way Sergey does throw, good power. He has no problem with his spinning attacks. And I think it will only take one clean shot Sergey lands. I think the fight could be over.
Damn, so you're calling finish here in this code.
I'm thinking finish. I'm playing his knockout prop once it comes out.
I could definitely get behind an under here. Let me check where the over-under is on this fight on Bet365 because it's the only one I saw that had, props here for this main card. The over-under for this fight is 2.5 to under 2.5 plus 105 here.
Oh, I'll play that.
Over under in the Carlos Jr. Carl Moore fight was also 2.5, juiced towards the under minus 120, and the Simon Powell fight is juiced towards the under 2.5 at minus 160. Just a quick update on the props before we get into the main event here. But main event, I'll let you take this one away. I know this is your boy, Phil Davis makes his return back inside the cage. It's been a while since we've seen him, and he'll be taking on Rob Wilkinson. I thought Phil Davis's PFL interview that he did with Ariel Helwani was the absolute funniest when showing him the bracket. He was like, "No, this is my first time seeing the bracket of the division and stuff like that." And they're telling him that he was fighting Rob Wilkinson. I think he was kind of playing it up for TV, but I thought it was a pretty funny bit. How do you feel about the fight, though, Joey?
Okay, I'm going to say this before I get my pick. Clash of styles. If Phil gets the takedowns, Wilkinson's probably screwed. And he's probably going to get laid on, preyed on. You might even hear some boos in this fight because all Phil Davis does is take down and control. Not looking for damage, but he's just looking there to blanket you the entire fight. But if Rob can stop the takedowns, I think there's a chance he might light up Phil Davis like a Christmas tree. So, this is a 3-round fight?
Yes.
Oh, if there's a finish, I think it's Rob. But here comes my non-bias. I think Phil Davis takes him down, controls the living shit out of him, probably wins a decision. And Mills is probably saying, "Oh, great, Joey, put your fucking hands down." But yeah, I got Phil. You can call it bias, you can call it. I'm a Phil Davis guy, so yeah, I got Phil.
Yeah, I wanted to pick Phil, but I feel like Wilkinson coming up short for the first time in his PFL career in his last one versus Dolvid. It was the first time that we've seen him outstruck and controlled. He's hopping right back in the fire, though. It was a tough-ass fight versus Phil Davis. I feel like whoever wins this fight is probably going to win the tournament here. Coming off a 2-year layoff, former Penn State wrestler, only losses to Corey Anderson, Nemkov, and Bader in the Bellator division. I mean, he's a class act. He just hasn't been the most active. We haven't seen him in 2 years, and then he wasn't the most active when he was fighting. So, when I feel like that could be all the difference when you're fighting somebody like Wilkinson. Outside of the last one, he's always been on point. Just kind of play the total, though. I feel like both guys are very durable, never been finished. I think this one's going off 15 minutes. Over 2.5 is the most juiced on the card at over 275 for the over 2.5. I would probably use fight goes the distance as a parlay piece.
Yeah, I usually agree with that, but I'm actually curious what you think Phil Davis's by decision is going to be. Probably what, 2.5, 3, hit or miss.
Money line's plus 125. His decision will probably be plus 187, plus 200, depending on what you shop it at.
I'll just take this money line. I don't want to give me 2-1, mid 2-1 or something, or 3-1.
Yeah, it's not something I'm really too convicted on this main event. To be honest with you, it's not like the last event, like the Impa Fabian one. I think this is gonna be a really good fight, but there isn't a crazy amount of edge on it. But let's go over the card real quick, Joey. You said flag plant was what for you again?
Powell.
Powell, yeah, Pow. So let's give the people a parlay here. Your leg's gonna be your flag pant Powell.
Yep.
And
we're gonna have two parlays then because I have Powell. He's my first flag with Bolaños for Saturday.
Okay,
You can get that at plus 150. I got it at plus 153.
I'm gonna give out Romanov and Simon Powell to like parlay minus 137. Odd shop that. You could definitely probably get better odds depending on where you're at in the market. But I like that 2-leg parlay of Simon Powell, Alexandr Romanov. Favorite straight play of the card? Where are you going with?
Oh, I'm going with Sergey.
Okay.
Even though I'm going to have a bet on Phil already, that's kind of obvious. But I think Sergey, and I'm also going to be playing his knockout prop.
Sergey here in the co-main event is going to be Joey's straight play of the night there. Underdog pick there. For me, I'm going to go with – I'm stuck between these two here. Sullivan, Cauley, and Rodrigo Nascimento. Like, I think both of those are the sides. Both of those price tags are pretty nice. I'm going to go with the veteran experience with Nascimento, minus 112. And then I'm going to also probably play Cauley at minus 166 as a straight bet against Nunez. I think Nunez is kind of a fraud. The model says that the best parlay piece was Popov, but I think that's just more of his 17-fight win streak being snapped in his last one. And then they said underdog tonight, Antonio Carlos Jr. And I think if I'm up money on the night, we cash that 2-leg. I might be throwing that one in. But shouts to Millie Mills. He says, check out the media clips I did at Pub Sports Radio with Phil Davis, Antonio Carlos Jr., and Moldavsky. Joey, any closing parting words for the people in the chat?
As I need to give it out one more time, just for if people didn't hear, my two flags are Powell and Bolaños. You can get that plus 153. My straight bets are going to be Phil Davis on the money line, Sergey, the co-main as a dog, and I'm probably going to play Sergey by knockout. But my final plays, like I said, stay tuned. We're definitely going to have them out. To find them at Joe DFS Betting on the X.
Yeah, you can find me over at GettingBills_. We're going to be dropping some plays throughout the PFL card. Nice little birthday week for the boy. So hopefully we can catch hot fire in the PFL. Some boxing on Friday night. Make sure if you guys haven't already, check out Danny and Preston's boxing video. Goes live before the Locker Room Podcast. And if you haven't already, check the Locker Room Podcast. Hit the like, subscribe on your way out. And for next time, it will be the playoffs next time here. Almost time to come down to good old New Jersey. Maybe you might get an Atlantic City episode out of us. But until next time, Joey, we out.